this episode of Full Spectrum Living with CBD. I am your co-host Meredith, here with our hosts Jessica and Adrian. And today we are going to tackle a pretty big topic, it sounds like, which is indica versus sativa. So you guys are here to help really set the record straight on this topic. So Adrian, why don't we start with what is this difference anyway? Like, what's the history here?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's a very common question. People are looking for certain effects that are related to this indica versus sativa. But to be realistic here, science only recognizes the one species, cannabis sativa L. That's all science will recognize. Now, there has been a push for subspecies, and that's where you get into the indica and the sativa. So historically, it was something that people kind of looked at, and it was the phenotypes. It was the phenotypic expression. So what does the plant look like? So indica is shorter, stockier, bushier. The finger leaves are thicker, whereas the sativa varieties is what they were saying were tall, lankier, and the finger leaves were really thin. And people would tie those with certain feelings, right? So even historically, they said that indica was higher in CBD and sativa was higher in THC. Well, I mean, we're seeing that now that that's not the truth, that you can't just say one is high CBD and one is high THC based on the way that it looks. It also is about the way that it made them feel, whether it's one is more mood lifting, stress relieving, which would be the sativa historically is how they were looked at. And indica was more of the, I guess, calming. Couch lock is typically what some people will associate with it. And so what it all boils down to, and scientists have here recently really gotten behind the push, is to remove the indica and the sativa from even the conversation, right? If we want to destigmatize and continue to destigmatize and remove the whole marijuana negativity, we need to start focusing on the science of the plant. People are using cannabis for medicinal purposes. They're looking for the benefits that they can get from these varieties. And honestly, you're not going to be able to tell by the way the plant looks. You need to get inside the plant. You need to check and see what cannabinoids are in there, what terpenes are in there, and what mixture thereof, because it's not just one all for, you know what I mean, one specific cannabinoid or one specific terpene. It's the mixture. It's the science behind it.
I see. Okay. So when it comes to those terpenes or the other components, then what are the differences then with the indica and the sativa?
So currently that's up for debate. So the terpenes that tend to kind of affect it. So essentially terpenes are the fragrance causing element of the cannabis plant, and they offer kind of almost essential oil-like benefits. So the fragrance of them offer benefits by themselves, and they also function as a catalyst for the cannabinoids and how they work. And although we're still definitely studying all of this, there's, I guess, over 500 some chemical components to a cannabis plant, and we know very little about most of those. But in the terpene category, we do know that things like myrcene is very calming. That's a cannabinoid that has, is that an earthy kind of aroma? Is it earthy?
For the earthy aroma, yes.
Earthy. And then like beta caryophyllene is calming to the central nervous system. It's kind of peppery, like it's in black pepper. And it's kind of a unique one in itself, but pinene apparently can help with short-term memory loss and is slightly energetic. And limonene is uplifting like citrus fruits are. And those are some that we know most about, but there's a lot more available. So exactly what ratio you have present in your plant due to its genetics is going to yield slightly different effects based on those dominant terpenes, the minor cannabinoids, so things beyond CBD and THC ratios, but CBG and the CBDVs and all the other active constituents there. But I think, like to Adrian's point, the main point is if you're using it for medicine, those slight variations can actually make a huge difference. Hopefully we can link a TED Talk that I recently saw that's talking about how these children with autism had found really good results for reducing their violent behaviors. And it was through using a cannabis variety. And unfortunately, that company changed genetics, and kids they started attacking their parents. The kid had to go to the hospital because he jumped out a window. A kid broke both of his dad's hands fighting him. Another kid beat his mom till she had to go to the hospital. These are all things that happened just by switching the variety, because those components had changed. And fortunately, like the person who was talking about this was able to find a comparable product to get them back on, and they saw those benefits coming back. But I think that's just an example of how, maybe someone with Crohn's finds a strain that works really good for them. And if they're just told, oh, it's an indica strain, they might assume that they just need an indica to help with their illness. But it's so much more complex than that, because I mean, there's a lot to say, but essentially, like, a lot of products are not labeled correctly either. I mean, they're called indicas and they're not quite actually that. There's issues with, companies can change the name of their genetics just because they want to change the name. And so all of a sudden you've got this new, someone named it Granddaddy Purple because it can sell, but it's not actually that strain. So if you rely on that strain for your medicine and you purchase it again, you might be really ill when you consume something that's not effective for your illness.
Right. And that's where the science behind what the producer is doing, right? So honestly, the manufacturer should be looking at the cannabinoids and the terpenes that are prevalent in their varieties, right? They should look at what is coming through their extraction and what's actually in their products, and then studying those, right? Being able to say, okay, this has X amount of CBD, THC, THCV, CBG, and it has X percentage of myrcene, limonene, pinene. Okay, great. We know based on this, what we're seeing from what science is going to tell us, but also what consumers are reporting, that this has, great effects on pain or autism or relaxation or, sleep. And so it's the chemical composition. It's really like, what are your labs telling you? Let's look at it. You find a product that works really well. Make sure that you can get the labs. Make sure that you know what that secret sauce is to some degree, so that you can, when you're looking for another product, should you ever have to, you at least kind of know what you need. You know that you need a product that has more myrcene or more beta-caryophyllene. So there's a certain mixture. It's not just the fact that it's called indica or just the fact that it's called sativa. It is so much more complex. And if we're really trying to, again, move that conversation and focus on the science behind it, improve the medicinal value to it, to those who still don't believe, we have to elevate the conversation.
Mm-hmm. And I think it's really interesting that you're saying, it's not unlike other industries where we haven't seen regulation come in yet, where, I think with the products that you all create, you're very thoughtful about being consistent about your source product, mm-hmm. right? And that your clients that are using these products, I've learned from you, can be really, know that what they buy this month is the same as what they buy the following month and the following month. But this labeling component we've talked about, the sativa, indica conversation, and the source of product all seems to be at play here.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And I think that's one benefit to, a company like us, where we do grow our own proprietary genetics. And then from that, we use, is it our top 3 genetic blend for the Genesis blend, correct? And that's always consistent, and they're grown consistently. They yield very consistent results. And so, someone like my sister who has autism, who has seen great benefits from our product, doesn't have to worry that, a few years, from now, maybe like we just switch it without telling anyone. And then she loses the benefits of her medicine and has to go to a psychiatric ward because she all of a sudden is without medicine that's been life-saving for her for years. Mm-hmm. So that's, I think, one of the main benefits to, finding somewhere where you see the sourcing, that's going to be consistent, and it's not just it's not purchased on the open market. I think that all too often is the case, is we purchase what was available and this is what you get, which doesn't really matter as much arguably when you're sourcing isolates. But if you're getting something that's terpene rich and full spectrum with your cannabinoid content, that really matters, because you've found something that works, and you don't need to drastically change it or even slightly change it.
So I would say, instead of, if I was going to make a recommendation to a consumer, like if I can't use Indica and Sativa anymore, right? If there's no validity behind it, I am having trouble talking, validity behind it, then what do I say, right? What do I know? Honestly, I'd start with terpenes, right? Do a little research about what are the most common terpenes that are found in cannabis varieties. Okay, what are the effects? I mean, there's a lot of articles on there, a lot of scientific studies talking about the benefits of said terpenes. And if you're looking for something that's going to help you with sleep, then you're going to want something that's going to have a little bit more myrcene, or plus just have myrcene, period, right? Yeah. So there's, yes, regulatory effects and beneficial effects of, just the cannabinoids in general. We know that they've been studied, but it's that combination of both, right? So you want to study and say, I know I want a CBD product because I'm looking for X results. Okay, X results plus what else am I looking for? That's when you're going to get into the science or the beauty of the recipe when it comes with adding terpenes.
Mm-hmm. And I think, the terms Indica and Sativa can still be useful terms. They're definitely outdated, and we need more accurate terms to replace them. But, if you're still looking for Indica-like effects, that's a helpful tool to use to find that. But as Adrian's saying, it goes so much beyond that. Like it really boils down to the terpenoids, and even the cannabinoid CBN is very effective for reducing, relaxation and sedation. But just testing, looking at testing, keep the testing, see what you respond best to, and continue to seek out similar products.
Well, and it also seems like asking those questions of the supplier or provider of whatever it is you're getting, and if they're not able to answer like consistently, then that's probably a good indicator that you might need to move on, right? There's
I would say that there's a huge push probably from some in the industry to keep the terms Indica and Sativa, like meaning what they do, that, from the phenotypes, from the characteristics of the plant. Okay, yeah, it's very simple that because of this, the way this one looks, it's going to give you this effect just because it's easy, right? It requires no thought. It doesn't require any extra from these producers. And it's unfortunate. It's really not in the best interest of the consumer to keep it as it is. Like Jessica said, using like Indica-like results. Okay, yeah, then that lets me know that they're looking for something more relaxing. Okay, well then let's extend that conversation. But then as an industry, we should be there and saying, okay, you brought this to me. Instead, this is what you want to go forward next time when you go and you're trying to research the best product for you or to find something a little bit different.
Right. I mean, it's like there's so many things now. We just simply have more knowledge. Yeah. We have more information, and that's allowed the choices to become more specified to people's needs. And so let's get people that information.
Absolutely. And I think it also just points back to, look for products that actually have terpenes. That's a nice thing, just
Step
be aware,
one, right?
Yeah. Look for products that actually contain terpenes. Again, what we do is a terpene rich extraction. We do that for a reason. It's effective for many different reasons to have terpenes present. But step one, look for products that actually have terpenes. Look for products that have more than one cannabinoid. So, you're not looking for isolated products, in our opinion. That's far more effective. And just look for things that you can replicate and test out yourself. And I think personally, I absolutely love our product, and I hope that it does everything that everyone needs it to do. But there are certainly some benefits, to if it doesn't do exactly what you need, then you try something different or try a different approach, because those minor changes, as we grow and learn in this industry, we'll be able to tailor that more to certain conditions, I think. But for now, it's kind of self-exploration. Find what works best for you as a client. because there's a lot of options.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So if someone wanted to know a little bit more about your products and what you offer, what's the best place for them to find that information?
Absolutely. Check us out at bluegrasshempoil.com and also on our Facebook and Instagram pages. We blog and we like to communicate back and forth with you guys. So ask us whatever questions you want.
That's awesome. Well, for this episode of Full Spectrum Living with CBD, I am your co-host Meredith, here with our hosts Jessica and Adrian, and we will see you all the next time.
Bye.
Bye.